All rise. We will obey. Please be seated. Voy a swan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Khan, we will dispose of your outstanding request. The Chamber's eighth condition on the excusal from continuous presence of trial does say 5 days of hearing, starting after a judicial recess. We will leave it at that, at 5 days of hearing, so that Mr. Ruto will need to be here on Monday.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I continue?
Yes, you may.
Good afternoon, Mr. Witness.
Good afternoon.
Were you provided access over the luncheon adjournment to your affidavit and the handwritten statement accompanying it?
Yes.
And did you have occasion to read through it at your leisure?
Yes, I've gone through.
Okay. Can I return then, again without mentioning names, can you confirm that the only time that the name of the lady whose name appears at paragraph 3, the only time she is mentioned is in that paragraph of your statement, is that correct?
Pardon?
Are you having difficulty hearing me, Mr. Witness? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
All right, please listen carefully. The lady who you've been speaking of, do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Her name appears at paragraph 3 of your affidavit, correct?
Yes.
Can you confirm that there's no other mention of her other than in paragraph 3 of your affidavit?
Yes.
And can you confirm that there's no mention in your affidavit of her telling you information to the effect that you could receive benefits, financial benefits, by becoming an ICC witness? It's not there, is it?
Yes.
Yes, it's not there.
Yeah.
And it's also not in your statement that this lady told you...
Affidavit.
Affidavit, thank you. It's also not in this affidavit, sir, that you told that... Let me start again. Do you confirm that there's also no mention in this affidavit that this lady discussed with you false evidence to give to the investigators? Is that right?
The affidavit was written in general, so I didn't actually specify some issues, but I wrote it just in general.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Witness, but please focus your answer first to my question, and then we can discuss other explanations you might have. Do you confirm that there's no mention in your affidavit that this lady discussed with you false evidence which you should present to the prosecution? Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Court will bear with me. Is this until lunchtime? Yes. I just want to make sure I don't get your words wrong. If you give me 1 minute, please, Mr. Witness. You tell the Chamber, Mr. Witness, why it is that this important reason was not contained in your statement?
Affidavit.
Affidavit, thank you.
Sorry.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. So you've just explained that by the word that to mean that you should try as much as possible to make people believe they did things even if they never did it. Is that a fair summary of what you said?
Yes.
Was that a word that you used, or was that a word that is used when talking to you?
That is the word they used.
And you go on to say that I cooperated them and gave them false information as requested, as they promised to give me money and finance a luxurious life. Correct?
Correct.
And you then go on to say, again, this is another important part, that the said investigators wanted information or other evidence in regard in William Samoei Ruto's home to plan. Your recollection of what Mr. Joshua Arap Sang said on the radio during the relevant period, lootings and killings that took place during the post-election violence. The investigators told me that I should fix Mr. Ruto, and where that wasn't possible, his supposed close, and then you name certain persons. Now, isn't that exactly what you said, or almost word for word what you said was told to you by the lady to say? So, which is correct, Mr. Witness? Was it the lady that told you that?
What we discussed with the lady, what the lady told me, is what exactly when I said again. So whatever the lady was telling me and what the investigators were telling me was the same.
I see. All right. I'd like to put this aside for one moment, your affidavit, and just ask you one or two questions about your visit to the doctor prior to your testifying. And I'm not going to mention his name in public session, but do you know what I'm talking about? The doctor you visited on the 27th of August?
Mr. President, there is an issue here. You would have noted that since Your Honour's ruling at the outset that my learned friend should probe more before cross-examining or leading, my learned friend almost immediately jumped into cross-examination mode. And I didn't rise, we didn't object. But, Your Honour, in our respectful submission, the spirit of the ruling of the Chamber is clear. That the first task, I'm not saying the prosecution can't do this, the question is when should they do it? And in my respectful submission, given that what we're focusing on is the account, the statement given back to the prosecution, and in particular whether or not the witness is willing to speak the truth or the whole truth or part of the truth today, it's incumbent upon the prosecution before further seeking to discredit their own witness that they probe that statement, do it paragraph by paragraph, and ask him, is that what you said? Is it true? If not, why not? And, Your Honours, we may get to the ultimate point, but there's a certain path that the prosecution need to traverse before we get there. And I'd ask that my learned friend, from now on, be so kind as to conduct himself in that manner that we say is consistent with the ruling of the Chamber.
And also from now on, I think you should be the one making submissions for the rest of this witness's testimony. The matter of you standing up and Mr. Fall as well,
Yes.
that's not something we...
Indeed.
Yes.
Your Honour, for the sake of clarification, the issues of hostility would be dealt with.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. We've been dealing with certain evidence that you gave to the investigators relating to incidents that were alleged to have happened to you after the post-election violence. And according to your statement, it says you attended a certain meeting and at that meeting you were threatened because of your position. Some people wanted to kill you, and it was demanded that a cow be provided as punishment. Now, you've told us that you never attended such a meeting. Why did you tell the investigators that you attended a meeting like that?
It is part of the falsehood that I created in order to fit to be a witness.
But can you explain why it was necessary, if, as you say, the meeting did happen and compensation was demanded from a family member of yours, why was it necessary to say that you yourself were at that meeting?
I never got you well.
Why did you think it necessary to tell the investigators that you personally attended the meeting rather than giving them the version which you've just told the Chamber, namely that you heard from two sources that the meeting took place and that the persons presiding were demanding compensation from you because of your activities?
I had said earlier that I was told that I should give statement, even if false, but provided it will portray that the post-election violence was planned and there was that revenge mission. So in that matter, I had to fix myself that I went there so that my statement can be more concrete.
I see. This information that you gave in this section, I just want to be clear as to the source of this information. Is this something that you yourself decided to tell the investigators, or is this something that the investigators told you they wanted to have in your statement?
I told them.
You told them. So you made this up, is that right?
Yes.
I see. Thank you. I think we can move on then to another area. Just 1 second. All right. I'd like to turn to some other issues, to follow up on some other issues that you mentioned at the beginning of your evidence. Let's start off with the issue of Mr. Ruto and his position in the Kalenjin community. You recall yesterday that when I asked you what was Mr. Ruto's position in the community, you described him as the point man for the Kalenjin. You recall that?
Yes, I recall.
And I asked you if you could recall any examples or incidents that reflected the influence which he had in the community, and you said you could not recall any such incidents. You recall that?
Yes.
Could I ask the court officer, please, to call up page 0022, ERN 0022 of the same series?
The page 0022 is presented to the witness at paragraph 18.
And I'm interested for the time being from paragraph 20 onwards. Let's go through that. I think this can all be done in public session. Paragraph 20, you state, the leading politician in my area is Honourable William Ruto. Is that correct?
It is correct.
He is referred to as Kirgit, which is a Kalenjin word to mean king. The literal translation of the word is bull, which in the Kalenjin culture is a symbol of power and refers to king. Is that right?
It is not right.
What is incorrect?
From sentence number 2 to where you have stopped.
It's not correct.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's start with the word Kirgit. What does the word Kirgit mean in Kalenjin?
Kirgit means a bull.
It means a bull.
Yes.
Is it correct that that is a symbol of power in the Kalenjin culture?
No.
It's not correct.
Yes.
And it's not correct that it's synonymous with a king.
Yes.
See? Next sentence, Ruto is a mighty person.
You're right. Again, I don't want to belabor the point. It's supposed to be examination chief. The obvious question is, what does it mean? And does it have any connotations?
Well, I've established the literal meaning. I'm at this stage interested in the meaning, the correctness of the statement. Obviously, my learned friend is more than welcome to ask any follow-up questions he wishes when his turn comes. Or rather, Mr. Fowle's turn comes.
Objection is overruled.
Ruto is a mighty person in the Rift Valley. Is that correct?
No.
What is incorrect about that statement?
That Ruto is a mighty person in Rift Valley.
So, how would you describe Mr. Ruto's position in the Rift Valley? Is he an insignificant person?
Yeah, I describe him to be a leader.
Are there any leaders in the Rift Valley more important than Mr. Ruto?
I think that question vary with individuals. Some people may look him as very important than any other person. Some people may see another leader to be important than Ruto.
Let's not speculate about other people, Mr. Witness. I'm asking you, how would you describe Mr. Ruto? Are there any more important leaders, according to you, in the Rift Valley than Mr. Ruto?
At the present, because he is the deputy president, I don't see any other leader that is above him.
What about in 2007, 2008, at the time of the elections? Were there any other people more important than Mr. Ruto?
Yes, we had other leaders.
Such as?
Such as we had the chairman of the ODM who was called Henry Kosgei.
Was he a more important person in the Rift Valley than Mr. Ruto at the time?
Yes, because he was the party chairman, he was more important.
I see. And what was the relationship between Mr. Ruto and Mr. Kosgei? Do you know?
I don't know, but what I know is that they were both leaders of ODM in Rift Valley.
I see. All right. So you say that Mr. Ruto was not a mighty person in the Rift Valley. Going on, by that I mean almost all the inhabitants in my area believe that Ruto determines their fates, and therefore people must follow what he says. Is that right?
No.
What's incorrect?
That Ruto could determine the fate of the people.
Mm-hmm. The statement says that people believed that that he could determine their fate. Is that correct? Whether or not he actually could? Is that correct? That people believed he could determine their fates?
Yeah, some people believed.
I see. Now, you give a number of examples in the following paragraph of occasions on which Mr. Ruto, according to you, has shown his influence.
Sorry, Your Honour, before we move on, and I noticed my learned friend was going paragraph by paragraph. Your Honour, there hasn't been a question posed, so there shouldn't be ambiguity. In the last sentence of paragraph 20, and therefore people must follow what he says. Does the witness say that is true or not? It's quite important. And Your Honour, I don't want to move on so there's ambiguity in the court record. I think it's part of the question. It hasn't been answered by the witness.
Your Honour, I can certainly clarify that, but perhaps I should get some clarity too. The prosecution will obviously deal with areas of the affidavit which it feels it has to for the purposes of determining what is correct and for the next statement and for the next steps that one might take. Obviously, my learned friend, if there's anything which remains unclear, Mr. Falk can clarify that in his cross-examination. I do not propose to go through each and every word in this statement just for the sake of removing ambiguity. But certainly in this occasion I will follow it up.
Definitely, you can see the importance of that.
Yes, on this occasion I will clarify that.
Also, while you clarify that, in light of a certain distinction the witness has made between time periods, also mindful of the tenses in which words appear on the statements, you might want to clarify what time periods we're talking about.
Yes. Mr. Witness, just to clarify firstly the time periods, the statement is written in 2013, we know, And you state there that Ruto is a mighty person in the Rift Valley. Was that correct in 2013?
I think I didn't admit that Ruto is a mighty person.
So neither in 2007 nor in 2013 would you say that he was a mighty person?
Yes.
All right. Then on the last issue...
Sorry, and just for clarity, Your Honour, because it's important to what Your Honour said, at the time of the statement, Mr. Ruto was already the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. So, Your Honour, just for that obvious point.
I noted that.
I'm not sure if that was an objection, Your Honours, but I'll move on.
Number one.
You finish off by saying pertinently, therefore, people must follow what he says, meaning Mr. Ruto. Is that correct?
No, it is not correct.
And in 2007, did people follow what Mr. Ruto said?
What happened in 2007 is that Ruto himself had to follow what the people said.
So it was Mr. Ruto who was following what the people said?
Yeah, in 2007.
I see. Paragraph 21, you give an example of the influence that Mr. Ruto had pertaining to the election of one Wilson Mutai.
I think we are in open session.
And it's not a matter which is identifying at all for yourself. Is that correct? There's nothing in this paragraph that identifies you, Mr. Witness.
I
All right,
think
let's do this. Let's go to private session, see what's bothering the witness.
We are in open session, Mr. President.
Thank you. So, Mr. Witness, in the private session, you've just confirmed that various examples that you've given in your statement of Mr. Ruto's supposed influence in the Kalenjin community were incorrect.
yes.
We're reading through paragraph 29, and we're about halfway through now. You state, end of line 4, in fact, Ruto was installed as the Kalenjin leader back in 2007, but I don't remember well the exact date. Did something like that happen?
Yes, it happened.
So that's correct.
Yes.
How do you know about that?
Yeah, I saw in the media.
You saw in the media.
Yes.
And what does it mean to be installed as the Kalenjin leader?
When you become a Kalenjin leader, you become a consultant. Yeah, and you can advise the people.
You advise the people.
Yes.
Mr. President, just for the record, the statement doesn't say the Kalenjin leader. It says installed as Kalenjin leader, just for the sake of accuracy.
I was going to come to that, and there has been, it is something that requires clarification. I actually, at line 10, I see that Mr. Steinberg is recorded as saying the Kalenjin leader, but what I actually heard him about my own ears was a Kalenjin leader. Now, let's clarify what you meant for purposes of that paragraph, whether you meant the leader or a leader.
Yes.
Or what's of interest? That is the point.
Well, in fact, as my learned friend points out, what the statement said was, in fact, Ruto was installed as Kalenjin leader. So it doesn't say a Kalenjin leader, it doesn't say the Kalenjin leader.
Yeah, there was no article. There is no article in the statement. The question is, are you interested in one? In terms of the definite article, the Kalenjin leader, or just indefinite as a Kalenjin leader?
Well, perhaps we should explore that with the witness. When your statement says that Mr. Ruto was installed as Kalenjin leader, does that mean leader of the whole Kalenjin or one of many leaders?
I meant one of many leaders.
I see. And I think you were, yes, you told us that he became a consultant and could advise the people. Advise them of what, Mr. Witness?
On political issues.
And when a Kalenjin leader issues advice on political issues, would the Kalenjin people be expected to follow that advice?
Some may follow, some may decline to follow.
See. Would a Kalenjin leader be regarded as an influential person in Kalenjin society? Any Kalenjin leader?
I'm not sure of that.
What does a leader mean? Mr. Witness, is a leader not an influential person?
Yes, leader can be an influential, it can be a servant to the people.
I see. And we're over time, so let me finish up quickly. They are considered, this is now, he viewed to the ultimate authority and the only one capable of protecting their interests. I think that should be he was viewed. I'm not sure, but that's what it reads. He viewed to the ultimate authority and the only one capable of protecting their interests, and especially their land against the Kikuyu. Is that correct?
It is not correct.
Those who are against Ruto who are considered outcasts. Is that correct?
It is not correct.
They are considered by the community and they can't get involved in any activity within the community. Correct?
Not correct.
They are verbally abused regularly by other members of the community, which could lead to mental torture. Is that correct?
Not correct.
And I'll just read out the last. There's no need to call up the page. Sometimes they are also victims of physical aggression. Correct?
Not correct.
And this is what happened to all PNU supporters in 2007 and 2008. Is that correct?
Not correct.
So PNU supporters weren't considered outcasts, Kalenjin PNU supporters?
Your Honour, in fairness to the witness, the proposition in the statement was this happened to all PNU supporters, and then my learned friend asks a secondary question which is a little bit different than the all-encompassing all. And it's only fair, I think, to see what the witness said, if it's agreed, and if not, why. Your Honour, otherwise we set up a proposition, and then the following question is something quite different.
Your Honours, I am following up on that question, but perhaps it can be left. I see we're now well over time for Monday morning.
Yes, this is the convenient point to adjourn. We'll take it up again on Monday morning. Witness, we will adjourn for the weekend and we will reconvene on Monday. Please you will still be warned that you're still under oath and you're still subject to the subpoena. And while you're outside of court, that is, in the meantime, you must not discuss your testimony with anybody. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. So you rejoin us on Monday. Court is adjourned for the day.
All rise. We will.